I want to demo some of the basic uses and skills for getting around in Google Earth. And I'm in my office and there's construction going on outside, so you may hear a lot of banging and rattling around. But when to launch Google Earth, you're going to find either the blue ball with the white lines through it that is the Google Earth icon, and you will see that either in your applications or on your toolbar or launch bar, depending on where you put that icon. So when you open Google Earth, this is kind of the general startup menu, and I like to close the tour guide. And you may or may not get the navigation tips that pop up when you start. And sometimes it's nice to leave that because there's just new and useful hints. The other thing I do is I turn off any photos, any places. I leave on borders and labels, any 3D, all this kind of extra stuff that makes it really difficult to maneuver in the program. So you can start by zooming in, and there's two ways to zoom. You can use the roller on your Logitech mouse and roll in and out to zoom. There's also a navigation bar to the right of the screen, and you can slide and zoom in and out. You can pan by just grabbing the left button on your mouse and moving the earth around. You can also use more incremental panning this way. So that's some ways to move around. A way to find things is just type it in. You can add latitude and longitude, other kinds of coordinate systems, or you can just type in a place. And I start with Eugene, and I'm going to click that and choose search. And this used to be called the fly to button, so now this is going to put a little marker and take me to Eugene. I can zoom in and out here, and if I get really close to Eugene and hover over that, you can see a little bit in the bottom of the map. You have an imagery date, so this photo was taken for this section of the Earth on June 6, 2014. It also gives me the latitude and longitude of my cursor. So here I am at 44 degrees, 3 minutes, 8 seconds, 8.73 seconds north, and 123 degrees, 5 minutes, 14.8 seconds west. The elevation, the ground elevation is 427 feet, and the eye elevation, or the eye altitude, so imagine you're a bird or a plane, you are seeing this from an elevation vantage point of 9,317 feet. So there's a lot of information associated, and if I just pan over to, let's zoom out and pan over to the ocean here real quick. There we go. We're going to go over to Florence and roll back in. Hope this doesn't make you car sick as I move. And we should get a ground elevation of close to zero there. Yeah, 17 feet, which kind of makes sense. And wonder what it is over the ocean. Negative. Ooh, very cool. And it might actually have the bathymetry. I think it does. It's telling you the depth to the ocean floor. Okay, so that's enough about that. One thing I may want you to do is to access some of the tools in Google Earth. So you can measure distance by measure just a line as the crow flies. You can choose your units, and you can click here and measure there. It'll give you your units. You can clear that. You can also measure a path. So if I wanted to know what was the perimeter of the dune field in feet, I could click, and sometimes this has a bit of a lag time. There it goes. And this will make a running segments or little vertices that would calculate. What if I can, no. the distance around an area. So that's 8,000 feet around the area. Let's see, what else would you need to know with this? So the major tools for Google Earth in a Mac are different than a PC. In a PC, your access tools are here along this header. In a Mac, they're at the very top of your Mac screen, and I can't move my window to show you that. So anyway, beside the apple at the top of your screen, you're going to see the word Google Earth, and then you're going to see the word File, Edit, View, and Tools. If you click on Tools, you're going to see some drop-down menus. If I go to View, I can turn on the grid, which will give me latitude and longitude, and this scales as I zoom in and out. So right now I'm looking at degrees, minutes, and seconds. If I zoom out, I'm only looking at degrees and minutes, and if I zoom far out, I'm only going to be looking at degrees. So that gives you some use there. Sometimes they may ask you to give me the absolute location for a spot that you've identified or located. You can do that with the place mark. If you click the place mark, I'm going to move it out of the way. You could move that place mark to the middle of the creek or the pond and copy this latitude longitude coordinate, put that in a Word document. To save that place, you would name it, choose OK, and that pond will save in your places. You can also send me that by saving that place. I just right-clicked. I did, honest I did. And saved the place as a Google Earth KML file or keyhole markup language file. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to call that Songer Pond. I'm going to save it in a folder, but actually I'm just going to put it on my desktop, and then that will be something that I could attach and send to attach it in an email and send it. The other thing you may need to do is if you go back up to your Apple menu at the top and you click the Google Earth title, you can change your map preferences. And so you can change that from degrees, minutes, and seconds to decimal degrees. Sometimes if you're working with a GPS unit, you want to change that. The other thing you'll want to change is your navigation. And you don't want this to automatically tilt when you're zooming around, because the tilt gets very annoying when you want to move. So I turn off the tilt, and now I can zoom where I want. And if I want to tilt, let's say I want to see the 3D effect of this, I can tilt it this way, and then I can zoom in and out with my mouse and begin to see that 3D effect. If I want to go back to just plain directly from overhead, I just hold this bottom arrow down until it settles in. The other thing about Google Earth is that I can change this rotation so that north is not actually pointed up. And so if I'm asking you to give me relative location of this dune field to this lake, you could say the dune field is northwest of Mercer Lake, but actually it's not. If I click that, the dune field is southwest of Mercer Lake. So you want to make sure that you've got north up when you're working in your map. So that should get you started for Lab 3 or Lab 2 in week 3.